Hello chess fans! This past weekend I managed to hit 2200 in a tournament, so we can see so in this picture. So my previous rating was 2094 and I got a performance of 2310 to achieve a rating of 2200. So actually that constitutes an NM norm, so I was really happy that I was able to do it, and today I'm going to show you one of my best games from that tournament, I think. So in this game, I was black, and I was against a player I've played many times before, and at this point they were 2000, so they've been slowly climbing the ranks, and so they start off with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and I know they're a dangerous opponent, because in their last tournament they had a 2250 something performance, and they drew some very strong players, and also beat some strong players, so I know I had to be careful for this game. So here they play bishop c4, knight f6, and we've had this all before. I've had the same position against this opponent before, and usually here they play d4, and after I take, they go for e5, and we transpose into the Scotch Gambit, and I've had this many times before, but here they shocked me with d3. So briefly before the game, I just gone over my line of the Scotch Gambit because I just wanted to make sure that everything was good, and I remembered it. But when they played d3, I was very shocked over the board, so I didn't want to do anything too crazy, so I just went for bishop c5 because I really hadn't prepared anything, and here I expected them to play c3 or castle. I thought, okay, these are both the main moves, and here again, I think they just wanted to take me out of theory. They played bishop g5, which is a move I've never seen before, and a move that I think is very tricky, because the idea is sometimes you can go for this if you want, but it just keeps the bishop here, and it's a strange way of developing. So here I went h6, attacking the bishop, and if you take here, you kind of don't really get anything. For example, if takes, an idea could be knight c3, but I don't think this is played, mainly because I have the ability to play knight e7. Notice that if I've already committed to d3, for example, if I now committed to d6, after here takes, they can immediately get knight d5 with tempo, and this is the main line. Okay, but instead they went bishop g5, I went for h6, but this has a different idea. The idea is to go bishop h4. And so here now I can play d6, because whenever they play knight c3, I have the idea of playing g5. So they play c3 instead, looking for d4. And yeah, here I played the best move, and a lot of people might ask, why is it the best move? Because, okay, if we're thinking about it objectively, the most natural move looks to be castles. Now I think this is a slight mistake, because in some positions, if white castles, you can go g4, g5 immediately and just start attacking. And to be honest, I don't know if that's objectively correct, but in human play at least, trust me, when you're able to play g4, g5 with tempo on this bishop, it's very pleasant. For example, if you played like bishop d7 and they castle, you can go g4, bishop h3 here. And if they take here, you can trap their bishop. So, or maybe not in this exact position, because f7 would be hanging, but maybe like rook g8 first and then here, and it would be very dangerous. But instead of that, I played a6. And a6 is a sort of a waiting move. The other idea is it gets the bishop a square on a7, and the final idea is that I can play knight a5 to win the bishop. So just a multi-purpose move, and generally a useful move. My opponent played a3, doing the same thing, saving their bishop. And here I think my opponent showed their unfamiliarity with the position. Here you should really play bishop b3, because the bishop really wants to be on c2 rather than on a2. And that's for the reason to support d4 after you support the pawn on e4. So yeah, they played a3, I went bishop a7. The idea of bishop a7 is another waiting move. I still want them to castle, in which case I could still do this g4, g5 stuff, but instead they played h3. And the idea was if I go g5, they want to meet it with g4. So here they were threatening to go g4, and then after bishop g3, it's kind of hard to break it. Now I think this is a mistake. I think they should have just developed, but yeah, I'm only saying it's a mistake because the engine said it was. During the game I thought it was a fine move. So g5, bishop g3. I pretty much have to play g5 here. I don't really have another option to do anything. Otherwise, they're going to get g4, and it'll just be unpleasant. So g5, bishop g3. And now there's no h4 threat, because they've also created a square for their bishop. And here I spent around 30-ish minutes. And I'll be honest, I didn't fully calculate my next move. Now, if you want to play a safe move here, I think you can just go for queen e7. And the idea is, okay, we eventually want to attack on the queen side. On queen e7, I was worried that he was going to go knight d2, queen c2, and castles queen side, and I didn't really see how I have any advantage. Now the engine begs to differ, because if white just waits, then you can have knight h5 and pick up the bishop and get the knight to f4, and you're dominating on the king side. So I kind of missed the slow pressure. I sort of just wanted to go for it right away, and that's what I did. I went knight h5. And 90% of the time, this is known as a very big mistake, because it blunders the tactic knight takes e5, and after I take back, he can take my knight. So you might ask, wait, did you just blunder that tactic after 30 minutes of thinking? I'll just tell you, if I did blunder that tactic out of 30 minutes of thinking, I would not be 2200. I'll tell you that much. So my opponent went for it. So there's another, you can also play bishop h2, which after knight f4, white is considerably worse here. So that was also another option. Let me think, what is the final option you have? Oh yeah, you could also have just ignored it and just let this happen. In which case I would have played queen f6 and knight f4, which is also bad for white. But instead they took here, which is the main move I was calculating. But my idea was, because you've done this weird bishop thing, I now have the ability to take here with my knight. And here what I calculated is, if knight takes, I have queen f6 threatening mate. And so he has to defend it somehow, and there's no easy way to defend it. For example, if queen d2, I can go here, and now I'm threatening this again. And I've picked up the bishop and the knight. And after here, notice that I'm just up a piece. After I just take here, I'm just going to be up a full piece. Instead of that, he could have also taken my knight, which attacks my queen, but also attacks my bishop, which allowed me to threaten mate here. But here, I can still go here. And you might ask, wait, can't he just take your bishop then? But then I take his rook, threatening mate again. And again, he has to address it with knight, queen e2, and after here, I'm up a piece. So yes, or up an exchange after the knight loses itself. So yeah, very nice tactics here, and the best move would be rook f1, in which case I would take, threatening here. Knight takes, king takes, and here I would be up the exchange for a pawn. So yeah, I'd seen all this. And then my opponent played bishop takes f7, which I'd also seen. But I just didn't think it was a good move. And it's for the simple reason that he's going to lose some material. He's going to lose 2 pieces for the rook. So I play king f8, knight g6, king takes f7, knight takes h8. And here I was considering king g7, and it also is one of the best moves, but queen takes h8 looks more natural. And yeah, here, after it takes here, I kind of simply missed that the f-file is open. Here I was counting on queen e5, threatening d4, but also threatening this pawn, in which case I thought that he had no way to defend this pawn. I thought that he would have to go queen f3 and allow d5, and after takes, he'd get an isolated pawn. I thought I would be much better with a knight on e5 too. But what I completely missed here is queen f3 came with check. So I can't play queen e5 anymore. And here the engine says something absolutely disgusting. So see if you can find the best move for black here. It is very out there, and it's not very clear at all why it's the best move. So the best move is bishop e6, but doesn't bishop e6 just run into d4 threatening this fork? And now you have to see absolute insanity. Knight takes d4, what? Like, you just throw a piece for no reason? Yeah, I was not even considering this, to be honest. I saw this position after d5, and I thought, okay, I'm much worse. But after takes, so you're threatening the pawn on b2. For example, the best line for white is to go takes, and here black has, what? 1, 2, 3, 6 pawns. White has 5 pawns. But these pawns are pretty messed up, and you're most likely going to win this pawn too. For example, if king f2, rook f8, king e7, rook f8, and you're winning this pawn too. So you have some pawns for the piece. But yeah, it's extremely ridiculous. And, oh, sorry, you don't have to play king e7. You play queen c5 check, and after here, bishop c4 would win. So they have to go king e1. So yeah, very ridiculous. I didn't see any of it, and apparently I would be completely winning here. After knight c3, or sorry, instead of that, like my question is, what if they go like knight d2? Like, what do I do then? Then queen e5, apparently threatening this is winning, and they can't even castle because I prevent them. So yeah, this was very tough to see, and I didn't even consider it in the game. Instead, I played the second best move, which is king g7. Engine marks it as an inaccuracy, but if it's the second best move when the best move was planning to sacrifice a piece, I think it's fine. Idea was king e7 was to get out of the checks, and I had to give up on my dream of queen e5. So here they went d4. I went queen e8. This was my whole idea. Apparently here I was supposed to go queen f8. I just thought that allowed rook f1, but then apparently queen e7, and the queen's better placed on e7 than e8, and also the rook is apparently misplaced on f3. I didn't really see that, so I played queen e2. And here I'm not really sure. I expected knight d2, and the idea was to just defend this and then castle next. And here I was going to play bishop f5. I expected castles, bishop g6 to keep pressure here, and I thought the position is pretty imbalanced, at least that there's some imbalance that I can try to win this game with. But yeah, here the engine is saying that it's around plus 0.4, plus 0.3, because white has the material edge in the endgame. Like, if we trade the queens and we trade, I don't know, the knights, I think white is doing significantly better because pawns are really good against the bishops. But instead my opponent went queen e2, which was considered a mistake. I went bishop d7. The idea is I can sack here and play bishop b5 to win back my exchange, in which case all his center will be loose. Knight d2 is a good move. Yeah, here I think I really should have gone knight a5. The reason I was worried about knight a5 was because of c4. But like, now that I'm looking at it, I just realized I can just take on d4. So yeah, an unfortunate miss by me, but the idea is to go bishop b5 next. And if he ever goes c4, I can go bishop a4. And now this pawn is weak. I'm going to threaten here. This pawn is also kind of weak with this pawn not being defended. So yeah, instead of that, I went queen g6, which is a very sneaky idea. The whole idea is to not allow him to castle the queen side, because at some point this queen will be attacking e4, which can pressure the pawn on the king side. The other idea was to get the rook to e8. And here I really expected castle's king side. And my opponent, funnily enough, they actually hovered castle's king side. Like, they grabbed their king and they were about to castle king side. like they did this, and then they put their king back, and then finally they castled queenside, which was very strange because castle kingside I thought was an obvious move. They told me later that they were afraid of this sacrifice, but I don't really see anything there. And the engine says I should just go here and try to get this pawn, and that the position is roughly equal because I do have some pressure, especially with the queens not being able to be traded. Instead of that, they castled queenside. I went rook e8, again continue with my plan with this pin, and yeah, here they made a very big mistake. I don't think they have to do anything because there's not really a threat. I'm not going to play d5, you have e5, and I'm not going to play bishop f5 because, okay, you could defend it with the rook. So there's really not a threat here, so maybe they should just, develop their pieces or something, but instead they went queen c4, which I think is a big mistake because it allows me to do something I wanted to do anyways, which is do b5, attacking on the queen side, especially you want to remove the defenders of the king, which are the pawns. Okay, here my opponent went queen a2, which was the best move. And yeah, it's really sad when you have to move your queen from the center to the side. So here I already thought that my opponent had made some mistakes. And here I don't know what I was doing. I should have gone bishop e6 because after d5, I have bishop g8 and then there's this pin. And my knight can go to e5. So this would have just been completely winning on the spot. I don't know why I didn't see this. And if they have to go back after knight a5, the position is completely winning. And yeah, I don't know. I'm really not sure how I didn't see this, to be honest. It's not that difficult, but I played knight a5 instead. And the idea was I wanted to go bishop here next, which is just dumb because if I went bishop there, then my knight could get to e5. So yeah, I also missed this completely. So this kind of gives up most of the advantage after b4. But even if he played b4, I was very happy because he's moving pawns in front of his king, and that means the king's going to be weak. So here, rook f1. Again, this is kind of a mistake, missing b4. But b4 is a hard move to play, so I don't think that it's a very natural move. So here, bishop e6, d5, and this was the whole idea. Now I get this e5 square for my pieces. I also get this pawn to be very backwards. Now it's backwards and the square in front of it is covered. I went bishop g8 because I'm thinking about stuff like this, and I'm also thinking about c6 to put more pressure here. And here they absolutely blundered. Here they had to go here, and it's to stop my next move. After b3, take a few seconds to see if you can find the winning move for black. There's only... Technically, every move is winning because you just have a huge advantage here, but find the most winning move. So yeah, I recommend you pause your videos because this is a very important move to see. So the move is bishop e3. The idea is to attack the knight and pin it to the king. So for example, if he moves here, I just would pick up this pawn, and after I pick up this pawn, his position is crumbling. So after bishop e3, we saw a4. Again, you shouldn't move pawns in front of your king, but at this point, I don't blame my opponent. There's not much you can do. And yeah, the main downfall of his game, I'm pretty sure, is queen c4, queen a2. That was not very, very ambitious, and it was very strange, to be honest. So here I just took the pawn. Notice he can't take because I take here. And if he unpins, I think for one, I could just take, and just like take here. And if he takes, I have this fork at the end. So he can't do that. So he had to take here. Here I played bishop h7. Notice that if he takes this, I have mate in 1. And I don't know, he can't really do much of anything else. Like if he goes king b2, I think check. If he goes here, I don't know, maybe just takes here and then takes here. And if he goes up, I think check, here, check. And then I should at least win the queen, right? If he goes here, it's checkmate. Some sort of checkmate. But basically, yeah, his king is running. Instead of that, I went bishop a7, he took here on a6, which, I mean, you're now minus 17, but see if you can find mate in 8. I did find the first move in the game, but I just didn't see the mate for some reason. So yeah, the first move is knight takes b3. And the idea is he can't take here because he's pinned, and if he takes with the queen, I go rook b8. And notice the queen can't move here or else he gets mated, and if the queen moves away, I give this check here, takes, and checkmate, because the knight is pinned. So this was a very nice tactic to find. And my opponent played some more moves here. I didn't necessarily note them down. I think, let me try to remember what my opponent did here. Yeah, after this, my opponent went king b2. I went bishop, queen c2 check, king a3. I went for takes here. He went, I didn't go for takes there. I went for bishop c5. Here, takes. And now here I could go check and then pick up the knight, but I wanted to pick up the pawn because he can't stop this mate. For example, if he takes, and he stops the mate, then bishop c2 is mate. So, wait, bishop c2 is not mate. Wait, what was the mate I saw here? Oh, check here, and then bishop c2, yeah. And then he can't stop this mate. So he didn't take that. Instead, he went king b5, check, here, check, here, check, here, check, here, check, here, check, here. I went bishop d3, rook e1, I gave this check. He went here, I gave queen c8 check, king e7, and queen e8. Oh no, sorry, I didn't play queen e8. I played queen d7. Yeah, queen d7 was the final move of the game. So yeah, that last part was on memory. I'm not 100% sure if that's what happened, but something like that happened, and basically I won the queen. So yeah, this was a very good game. I feel like I calculated the tactics pretty well, and honestly, after knight h5, I calculated for 30 minutes. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I saw the resulting position we'd get after the f-file opened. I didn't see that the f-file was open, but I knew the position was going to be okay for me at least, and I needed to create imbalance because I have to win this game for any sort of norm chances or rating gain or whatever. So yeah, I'm really happy with my performance at that tournament. I think that that's one of my best tournaments in recent time, and yeah, it's hard to gain rating points where I live because there's not a lot of strong players. So yeah, great to get such an amazing tournament as this. So yeah, if you like this video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll inform you on my chess journey.